right, all right. How is everyone doing? All right, we got about 20 of you here. Let me just get a quick moment. I just want to get my camera in a better frame. And away we go. Okay, we're a 3-minute start. We got about 45 people scheduled for today. So they'll join us. They'll meet us in the middle. All right. So hello, everybody. Welcome to Rocket Fueled Metabolism. My name is Dr. Christopher Hauk. I am a chiropractor. My office is Chiropractic Solutions. I'm actually located just right down the street, diagonally across from Lifetime Athletic. In addition, pardon me, technical difficulty already. Let's get this thing working. Okay, good. We got all the bugs out. All right. So in addition to being a chiropractor that has advanced training in pediatric care, perinatal care, and sports injuries, I am also an exercise physiologist. I'm also a dad. I'm also a dad and a husband and just a person who wants to see people living in their community, living longer, stronger, healthier lives. I'm also the luckiest man in the world because I do get to work with a great team. So I'm going to have my team just put their camera on for just 1 second so I can introduce them. All right. There we are, the dynamic duo, my dream team. So from left to right, we have Hannah, who is our office manager. We have Andrea, who is our clinical assistant, and I have Dr. Nikki. So I am so lucky to work with these three ladies, and we are committed to make sure that this workshop does not go down in history as just another boring Zoom. Right. So what we're going to do is my team is going to be asking you questions. They are going to be answering questions. And I really want you folks to just engage with me. You should see. Oh, okay. You see it, guys, now? We're seeing we cannot see your team. They're right over here. I guarantee you, I promise you, they are there and they will be watching us this whole time. So for the purpose of time, I'm going to make sure that I answer all of the questions at the end of this workshop, but I am going to put priority into the questions that are on the chat bar. Okay, so I want to make sure I answer those questions specifically as I possibly can. So please, if you like what I'm saying, give me a heart, give me a thumbs up, interact with me, play along. I guarantee that if you do that, this workshop will be a show. And not only will you walk out of here with better information, but you also walk out of here with a smile. All right, agreed. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. Okay, so you're here for a reason. And what is your objective? Is it just to lose some weight? Is it to gain some muscle? But can we all just be honest? Option C probably would be an answer for 100% of us. We all want to look just a little bit better naked. Am I right? Right. So that's not going to happen. None of that's going to happen without our metabolism working the way that it needs to work. So what I want you to understand is your metabolism really is the chemistry that's going to control the quality of your life. And there's just no way you're going to achieve or maintain your health goals if your metabolism is off. And why should you folks care more about your metabolism? Well, let's just face it. Unfortunately for you folks, sitting is now the new smoking, right? I know you probably have heard that statement before, but what do people actually mean when they say sitting is the new smoking, right? So imagine for a minute that you are someone that worked out an hour and a half a day, you meditated 10 minutes a day, you ate nothing but organic food, you went to church every Sunday, you were lived the cleanest, healthiest lifestyle, but you were also, say, a cigarette smoker. Well, none of those great action steps or lifestyle choices would matter if you were a smoker. So sitting, unfortunately, is the same way. So research has clearly shown that those of you that sit for 6 or more hours per day, you have a higher incidence of heart disease, diabetes, cancer of all types, and your life expectancy is less. All right. When researchers look at people, say 2 groups, and both groups, they sit the same amount of time per day, but they look at one group that sits for maybe 1 to 2 hours at a time, and they compare them to the other group that sits for 30 minutes at a time. Well, guess what? The group that is sitting for 1 to 2 hours actually has over twice the mortality rate. than those that were sitting for shorter periods of time. I know that is depressing. I get it. As well as the COVID-15, right? The COVID-15, let's just face it, we're all probably a little fluffier than we'd like to be right now. That's okay. And we're on our way to a better metabolism, right? But guys, the research on this one is for those of us that did gain weight, it's actually more like 29 pounds on average, some studies show. So I know that's a bummer. So the way we're going to get out of this, the way we're going to get back to our health goals is we got to get control of our metabolism. So in order to do that, we got to get control of our hormones. Okay. We're going to talk a lot about hormones today, right? Right, ladies? Hormones are powerful chemicals that dictate body function, right? We don't mess around with hormones. We're going to talk about really three main hormones today. The first one is going to be cortisol. Okay. Cortisol is your stress hormone. It's absolutely critical for your energy level as well. Insulin is another really important hormone that we're going to talk about. And your insulin is really what's going to lock your metabolism into a fat storage mode, right? And your body is very intelligent. It's not going to store fat at the same time that it's going to burn fat. And we know we want to burn that fat. And lastly, we're going to talk about growth hormone, right? Growth hormone is really, it's the anti-aging hormone. It's the key to getting better outcomes with your metabolism. It's important for muscle mass and just recovery as a whole, right? So let's just jump right into it. And I know the thing that we should talk about first is stress, right? So for those of you that got your cameras on, I love cameras. I love seeing smiling faces. For those of you that have your cameras on, raise your hand if you've had a little extra stress over these past 2 years, right? Especially our working parents, right? Stress levels have been through the absolute roof these past couple of years, and hence so has our cortisol. So let me tell you a little story. It's a good story. It's got a good ending, but it started around 2006. This is a younger version of me when I had color in my hair. My wife still looks exactly the same. My wife and I got married in 2006. Many couples, they get married, they take their nest egg money, they start a house, they start a family. I somehow convinced my wife to let me start a business. And so we are a family business. My wife was my office manager for 10 years. We really had a really busy, successful practice, from early on. And the thing you understand about me is, I'm a chiropractor, it's my job, but it's also who I am. It's not just what I do. I really love my job. So my office is my playground. That's why I love my team. My team goes to work every day. I just get to go hang out with patients, and life is good, right? So at this point in my life, my oldest son was 5 years old. My second son was 6 weeks old at this time. And, for those of you that have two kids, it's always that second one that, So baby number two only slept 3 hours at a time, for the first 8 months of his life. So we were in one of these great 3-hour stretches where we were sleeping, and I get a phone call at 2:34 in the morning. I'll never forget it. And it's a phone call, and it's from one of my patients who's a chef. And he goes, Doc, I am so sorry to tell you this. I know that the baby's just brand new, but your entire office plaza is burning to the ground. So being an occasional optimist, I say to my wife, it's not so bad. When I get in the car and I drive down the office, and it's one of those nights where, the wind is so bad that it's like pushing the car around. And, I get within like 2 blocks of my office, and, the entire sky is just lit up. And unfortunately, everything was gone. Not just my business, but 9 other businesses were destroyed in that fire. It was the old Connecticut Path fire. I lost my business. I lost my favorite diner, J&M Diner, right? And so what do you think my stress level was at that point, right? I bring this story up not for sympathy, but I know there are some of you that are so burnt out right now. And I know what it's like to be burnt out. I know what it's like to want to play with your kid more than anything. And he's like 3 feet away, but you just don't have the energy to do it. I've been there. I know what it's like. I know how to get out of it. And I want to help you if you're in that place, right? So what do you think my cortisol level was like? Boom, it was through the roof, right? Your cortisol is, remember, your stress hormone. It's going to put your body into what's called fight or flight. Fight or flight or survival physiology. Your body thinks it's fighting for its life. It's really helpful when you're running from a tiger, but it's really not helpful in any other situations, right? When you're just trying to be healthy. So when your body releases cortisol and your body goes into fight or flight, your body is going to turn on processes that it needs for immediate survival. Like my heart rate, my blood pressure, they're going to go up. My blood sugars are going to go up. My blood cholesterols are going to go up. I need all those things to either fight away the tiger or run away from the tiger, right? But that cortisol level is also going to shut down body processes that you don't need for immediate survival. Like one, your digestion. Your body doesn't care about digesting the sandwich when it's trying to just avoid being someone else's sandwich. Okay. Your immune system's going to shut off. The body doesn't care about the bacteria or the virus that's going to get you tomorrow. It's worried about the tiger that's going to get you now. Okay. Your certain areas of the brain will be shut off. So your memory retention is not what it needs to be. Your sex hormones are down regulated. So, you're not thinking about date night on Saturday when you're running for your life. Well, some of us are thinking about date night on Saturday while we're running for your life, but we know who we are. Okay. So when we talk about cortisol, I want you to understand it's not just cortisol too high or cortisol too low. It's like the Goldilocks principle. It's got to be just right. It's got to be high when it should be high, like in the morning, and it's got to be low when it should be low, like before you're about to go to bed. What does cortisol out of balance feel like? It's centripetal fat gain. It's the weight gain around the abdomen, around the thighs, right? Even though you probably have starved yourself into a calorie deficit, you're not losing weight. It's, hey, I'm hungry, even though I just ate. I'm exhausted in the morning, even though I got plenty of sleep. Sound like anyone, right? Am I sounding familiar to anyone? It's that person that wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning every night, completely energized, but then the alarm goes off at 7 and they're exhausted. It's the person that can't sleep even though they're exhausted. It's the person that hasn't had a satisfying bowel movement in weeks, months, years, right? So in order to get cortisol back in balance, there's things that we've got to start doing, stop doing, and there's things that we've got to moderate. So refresher, I know we're in New England, so let's just define this. Red means stop, okay? Green means go. Okay, yellow, that means slow down, guys, not speed up. I am your neighbor. I live right down the road. I've seen you people leave work at 5 o'clock. Okay, so again, green is go, start doing. Red is stop. Yellow is slow down, moderate. So in order to get your cortisol back in balance, you're going to need this thing called exercise. I know, but we're going to talk about the right exercise. All right, we're going to do what we can to make exercise not a drag. We want to work out smart, not hard. And why is this critical? Well, if you're over 30, it's really critical because what you need to know is that muscle fibers, they come in 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. And it's these large diameter muscle fibers that are really, really responsible for your metabolism. Think of them like your 8-cylinder engines. They're going to burn the most calories, right? So when you are in your 30s, you're actually going to start losing these large diameter muscle fibers, right? And you're going to lose the ability to have a good metabolism. So the only way to prevent this age-related muscle loss is through exercise. All right. So when I talk to my patients about exercise, I talk a lot about the pyramid of exercise. Okay. And we're going to start with the base, which is moving frequently at a slow pace. Now, moving frequently at a slow pace is certainly super, super helpful. But when it comes to regaining hormonal balance, we're really going to spend our time in the middle and the apex of that triangle. So when we talk about adopting a move more strategy, okay, we're talking about looking for opportunities for movement into your life. That is taking the stairs versus the elevator, okay? That is parking far away versus the closest spot possible. I mean, we've engineered movement out of our lives. So we really, really, really need to look for opportunities to regain movement into our lives. So don't forget about the base. But again, when it comes to regaining hormonal balance, we've got to talk about lifting heavy things. Okay. What we're going to talk about is something called resistance training through a circuit, right? And we also need to do that in an intense way, okay? Intensity is defined as moving, panting, and sweating all at the same time, okay? If you're not moving, panting, or sweating all at the same time, it's just not going to work the way that it should. Let me switch the slides here, right? So when it comes to your exercise, we need to talk about programming. A complete workout involves both resistance training, okay, and circuit training, okay? So when we are lifting weights, okay, we want to do that in what's called a circuit, okay, versus I say a traditional exercise. A traditional exercise, you'd say maybe do a set of bench presses, and then you would rest for 30 seconds to a minute, and then you would go back again and do that same exercise. With circuits, you want to make sure you're going from one exercise muscle group to the next. So for example, I would do my bench press, but instead of waiting and resting and doing that again, I would then maybe go to a back exercise so that I'm constantly moving, okay? One, that's going to increase the intensity. Two, that's going to provide a cardiovascular benefit to your resistance training program. And three, and most importantly, that will increase your metabolism for up to 48 hours. Versus the person that's just doing say a bench press, and then they take a break, and then they go back and do it. Their metabolism may be increased for maybe 6, maybe 12 hours, right? So we also want to make sure that we're doing functional exercises, right? Or functional training. So in the slide, you'll see my personal trainers, it's Impact Metro West. Again, I have a degree in exercise physiology. I like to exercise. I'm okay at it, but even myself, there is an absolute benefit from working with a personal trainer. And functional training is purposeful movement that's actually gonna help you live a healthier, stronger life and doing the things that you need to do, right? So I can come back and talk about functional training another time, but that's just, we don't want to unpack that too much, or else we won't have time to talk about anything else. All right. Now, when it comes to your cardiovascular training, you really want to do intervals, which means you want to get your heart rate up as high as you can, but I know you can't do that for indefinitely. So for example, you would maybe walk for 2 minutes and then maybe run for a minute. Or you could maybe say walk for 1 minute and then run for 30 seconds. You want to use what's called a 2-to-1 ratio, meaning 2 minutes of easy to 1 minute hard. And during that intense minute or 2 minute or what have you length of exercise, you want to, for my number of people, hit this certain number, okay? You want to take 220, you want to minus your age, and that's going to give your age predicted max heart rate. And if you take about 70% of your age predicted max heart rate, that's the heart rate number that you want to hit for your body to be in a place of intensity. Now, question: who does their cardio before their weights? I'm watching the chat bar. I'd love to see some feedback, right? Okay, we see some people walking. Okay, we got a lot of people, right? Okay, right. So what I want you to start doing is the order does matter. I want you to start, do your 5-minute warm up or such, then go into your weights second. And then lastly, I want you to do your cardio last. Why do I want you to do your cardio last? Well, as you intensely exercise, your body's going to release this thing called catecholamines. Catecholamines are really going to lock your body into a fat burning mode. Okay. It takes about a half an hour for your body to reach a certain blood concentration where these catecholamines really shift you into fat burning, right? So if you're doing, say, 20 to 30 minutes of resistance training through circuits, minute 1, when you step on that treadmill, you're in a fat burning mode. Versus if you're the person that does cardio first and you're doing a good half hour of cardio, okay, at minute 1, you step on the cardio. At minute 30, when you're done your cardio, your metabolism has just shifted into fat burning mode. Okay, does that make sense? Right? So we want to do the weights first to set up our chemistry so that once we get into the cardio, we're in fat burning mode. Good. Awesome. It's good to see some familiar faces on there. How are we all doing there? Good. So that's exercise in a nutshell. Okay, and again, make sure you're putting your questions in that chat bar, and I promise you, I will get your questions answered specifically and individually. All right. I'd also love to see some more smiling faces or some hearts or some thumbs or some emojis. Come on, guys, let's play along, right? So let's talk about diets, okay? So let me tell you, willpower is a fairy tale, right? If we're counting on discipline and willpower to change our habits, we're gonna be disappointed, right? So you need strategies, not willpower, okay? So I've been following you. No, I haven't been following you, but most of you, when you go to the grocery store, this is what you do. And this is an interesting thing because we're talking to TJX people, right? So, right, we go to Marshall's. I was thinking about every time I go into Sierra Training Post, I think I'm done shopping. And then I go into the aisles and I see all these things that I cannot live without, right? So how a store is laid out is designed to get the customer to buy. I think you folks get that more than most groups, right? So it's a concept called herding, right? You're gonna go into the grocery store, and you ever notice that the floral in the bakery section is always in up front, right? Because that's gonna hit our olfactory system. It's gonna get us salivating. It's gonna get our brain in a very, very a place of I want food, right? We all know not to go grocery shopping hungry, right? So you're gonna go into the grocery store, and you're very predictably gonna move up and down the aisles from right side of the store to the left side of the store, right? You're going to notice that, like, for instance, in the cereal aisle, all those, sugary cereals are typically at the child's level, right? So at the end of your trip, you're going to go home, and I want you to make 2 piles, okay? Now, the 2 piles are, you're going to make a pile of stuff, of products that would go in your cupboards, your cabinets. Those things live in wrappers and packages and boxes, okay? The second pile you're gonna make is gonna be the things that go in your refrigerator, okay? Now, the thing that I want you to understand is the stuff that goes in your refrigerator are live foods, okay? The stuff that goes in cupboards, cabinets, and that lives in boxes, packages, and wrappers, those are typically processed or refined. Right? So like if you left your 2 piles for a week and you came back, the pile of stuff that was supposed to go in the refrigerator would be rotten. The stuff that lived in the cabinets, in the cupboards, in the boxes, and the wrappers, it'd still be fine, right? So if we want to create life from the foods that we eat more live foods. So research shows that 60% of the calories that we consume are dead calories, right? Now, what I want you to understand is this, right? You got a plate of broccoli, okay? And you got a plate of Chinese food, okay? Right? The broccoli is whole food, it's live food. The Chinese food, although very delicious, is processed and refined, right? Has anyone overeaten a plate of broccoli before? I've been teaching this workshop. I've never met a person that's overeats on broccoli. I'm looking for my first. No, okay, I got no first, right? Right. So what happens is when you eat a live food, a whole food, there's this great thing called the satiety cascade. It's really a cascade of neurology and hormones, and it's going to tell your body, specifically your brain, hey, you're done, buddy. You ate enough broccoli. You're good. Go on with your day. Right now, if I were to look at your brain, say when you're eating Chinese food, your brain, if I imaged it, would be much like an addict. Right? Your processed refined foods are going to stimulate your pleasure pathway or your feel-good hormones. So that's why it's literally the physical distension of your abdomen from the Chinese food that you say, I gotta step away, right? And it's processed and refined, and it's going to do this crazy thing to your insulin, which is going to, 1, put you in fat storage mode, but it's going to make you hungry in a very short period of time, right? So let's start talking about insulin. Insulin is your fat storage hormone, okay? Now, here's the thing. You can be doing everything right. You could be in a calorie deficit, but if you go home and you are spiking your insulin, all that hard work in the gym, all that hard work with the food prep, all of that hard work is going to be for naught, because if your insulin is spiked, your body is locked into a fat storage mode. Your body is super intelligent. It cannot be in a fat storage mode and a fat burn mode at the same time. Does that make sense? So what you're going to do is you're going to do the new path. All right. The new path is, first and foremost, you're going to make it harder to succumb to the old habit. So you're not going to go up and down the aisles. You're going to hit the periphery first, because on the periphery is where all the good stuff lives, right? You're going to fill up your shopping cart with vegetables, with fruits, with lean meats, produce, eggs, those types of things. So you're going to make it harder to succumb to the old habits by hitting the periphery first. You're going to put the new habit in the path of least resistance. So for example, many people, they go to the grocery store with a shopping list, a do list. Well, sometimes a helpful thing to have on your shopping list is a do not bring this into the house list, right? So for me, full disclosure, it's an Oreo cookie. I've never thrown away an Oreo cookie because it's gone bad. It never happened. Probably never gonna happen, right? So you know which aisle the Oreo cookies live in. You just don't go down that aisle, right? So you're only gonna go into the aisles for the things that are on your shopping list or your do list, right? You know where that Oreo cookie lives. Stay out of Oreo cookie land. And then lastly is the battle is won or lost at checkout, right? So again, I have a problem with Oreo cookies. If they're in the house, I'm like a seagull. It's gonna go down the hatch. I'm gonna eat the Oreo cookie, right? So my battle is won when it's not brought into the house, right? Because remember, here's the thing. Willpower is kind of a fairy tale, right? So the strategy of just keeping it out of the house is a good thing. The next thing is, a lot of us, there's a lot of carb confusion, right? Like what's a good carb? What's a bad carb? Right? Is anyone else confused about what a good carb? I heard the other day that carbs are the devil, like the actual devil, right? So what happens is we really need a tool to identify what is a good carb and what is a bad carb, right? Because there's lots of exceptions or surprises, so to speak. So there's this thing called the glycemic index, or sometimes called the glycemic load, right? And it basically, that's a measure of what a carbohydrate will do to your blood sugar and hence your insulin, right? So things that are under 55 are good, right? Have as many of those carbohydrates as you want. They're typically complex carbohydrates, right? Things that are over 70 are bad, avoid those. And things between 55 and 70, those are things we got to have a little bit of moderation with. Right. So let's look at our chart here. I mean, okay, no one's shocked that carrots are good for you. Okay, everyone knows that apples and oranges, they're great, right? We're looking at your glycemic index. It's south of 55. That's a good carbohydrate, right? We look at oatmeal. Oatmeal is a great morning breakfast, right? Put a little fat in there, it'll be even better, right? And then we get to the obvious. We know table sugar and Coca-Cola are not so good for us, but then pita bread has a glycemic index of 68. But I thought the pita bread, my wrap, was a healthy alternative to my big brioche bun, right? From a hormonal perspective, same. I have the breads in red because there's such a big variability, right? Like the bagels on there, like bagel glycemic index of 72, white bread 73, whole wheat bread not much different. And then there's a tremendous variation in whole grain breads, right? Because whole grain breads have this little tricky thing in it. It's called the whole grain council. So you could look at, say, the front of a product and see, hey, this is a whole grain product. But when you turn and look at the label on the back, if it doesn't say whole grain in the first three ingredients, then it's not whole grain. It's kind of whole grain. Right. And even though it has the whole grain sticker on the front, that's really something that manufacturer has bought. Right. And of course, yeah, absolutely. What is the rice cake doing at 82? I know I just ruined rice cakes for somebody. I apologize in advance. Right. There's also things that you totally wouldn't think about. Right. So like moms, what's in the chat bar? What is probably one of the most common solid foods we give our children? Begins with a C, ends with Cheerios. Cheerios, right? Many times the first solid food is things like Cheerios. So this is where I say, hey, let's use Dr. Google. Dr. Google knows a bunch of things about a bunch of stuff. And sometimes it's helpful. Sometimes it's horrible, but sometimes it's helpful. A place where it's helpful is if you just do glycemic index of Cheerios, right? Like that's pretty high, right? So the thing is, when it comes to our insulin, there's two parts of this story, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but there's the insulin and then there's the insulin receptor, right? So when we're giving our kids high insulin snacks, right? Those quick and convenient snacks. Trust me, I'm a parent. I know how sometimes things are going to be quick and convenient, but what we're doing is we're creating a situation where the body creates more receptors for insulin, and therefore over time, it's going to develop more insulin just because of that. And that's a big part of what we call insulin resistance. But hey, that's another conversation for another time. And before we move on, I do want to circle back. Walnuts, 0. Salmon, 0. Hummus, 6. Does anyone know why the glycemic index of those things are so low? I mean, they don't impact insulin at all. Is that a good thing? Yeah, it's a good thing, right? Because insulin does what? Causes your metabolism to shift into fat storage mode. The reason walnuts and salmon are 0 in the glycemic index is because walnuts and salmon are protein. Remember, we got different macronutrients. We got fat, we got carbohydrates, and we got this thing called protein, right? Now remember, carbohydrates put your body into fat storage mode. Protein has something in it called alanine, which is like the key for your muscle repair and regeneration pathways. So protein builds muscle. Insulin will result in deposit of fat, right? So the big question is, why do we, like low carb, high protein diets are really in right now? Well, why is that? It's because we have a problem with insulin in this country. I mean, diabetes, heart disease, all those things, right? So protein's great because it doesn't impact your insulin. Next question is, well, when do I get my protein? And the answer is actually the best time to get your protein from a hormonal perspective is actually 2 hours after you work out. Working out the way that we told you to do, right? After your body has intensity, if you have protein within 2 hours after your workout, your body's gonna, your muscle repair and regenerative pathways are gonna go into high mode, right? And then the last one is, well, where do I get my protein, right? So that's where you'd use Dr. Google again and be like, hey, vegetable sources of protein, right? Of course, you get them in your eggs, your lean meats, and those types of things, but there are lots of proteins that can be found in certain vegetables, right? The one that I would tell you to maybe avoid would be soy. But protein's great, right? So has this been helpful? Someone give me a thumbs up if that was a good piece of information, right? I'd be happy to come back. This is something that we can unpack more. I do teach a workshop called Boundless Energy. And that's one of the major things that I talk about in Boundless Energy is, ways that you can maintain your energy levels, right? It's a little bit different than how to get a good metabolism. But again, good opportunity for me to thank Robin Nichols, Avery Weber. I've worked with them for a number of years, and they're the people that make this happen. So if you like the show, make sure you reach out to them and give them some appreciation and just let them know that you like the show. And hey, if you want me back, I'm happy to come back. I'm not too far away. All right. So let's shift gears into sleep, right? Because let's just face it, we could all have better sleep, right? So there is a primal relationship between light, time of the day, and hormone production. Okay, the same hormones that control your sleep are the same hormones that control your hunger, right? So if you mess with your sleep, you mess with your metabolism. If you mess with your metabolism, you mess with your sleep, because the hormones are same. The hormones that we're gonna talk about right here are growth hormone, human growth hormone, right? And what you're looking at is growth hormone is really important for repair, recovery, muscle mass development, fat burning, all of those things. But what this graph is showing you is that really at around age 40, but really into 50, we hit this thing called somatopause, right? Somatopause is when the amount of growth hormone that you release is significantly less, okay? And really at that point, once our bodies get into somatopause, it makes the 2 windows where your body is going to release growth hormone absolutely critical. We've already discussed one of those 2 windows, and the way, and that's after intense exercise, having protein will stimulate your growth hormone. Okay. That is absolutely one of the windows in which you really want to take advantage of. The second window is this deep sleep window. Okay. So what you're looking at here is a chart. Okay. And growth hormone will really start to surge after, once your body gets into deep sleep. We're really looking at the time of after, say, 10 o'clock, because again, we could talk about this at a sleep workshop, but your body really needs at least 90 minutes of deep sleep before midnight. Okay. So that's why we love that 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock bedtime, right? So you gotta get to sleep. All right. Again, primal relationship between light, time of day, hormone production. So there it is. So in order to get your growth hormone, we got to get you to sleep. In order to get to sleep, you got to have control of 2 other hormones. On the solid line is cortisol, right? So just as we said early on, there's times when your cortisol should be high. Like on this chart, you will see, I don't know if you can see my cursor, you can see that cortisol should be high in the morning, right? So newsflash, when you wake up in the morning, you should be energized. I know, right? When you're going to bed, your cortisol levels should trend down, okay? So think of cortisol and melatonin like the teeter-totter, okay? Cortisol's got to go down in order for melatonin to go up, okay? Melatonin has to go up in order for you to go down to sleep, all right? You will not have good sleep onset, duration, or quality if your cortisol levels stay high. Make sense? So here are some things that we do that keeps our cortisol high, prevents our melatonin from going high, and preventing us from going to sleep, so we release growth hormone. So laws of sleep. One of the major ways we're keeping our cortisol levels high is really by getting in front of screens, right? So we're talking about our cell phones. We're talking about our laptops. We're talking about our tablets. We're even talking about our televisions. So one of the keys is what we call an e-fast. I would say 30 minutes or an hour before bedtime, put those cell phones away. Nothing good happens on Facebook after 8 o'clock. I'm serious, right? So you put the Facebooks away, you put the tablets away, right? Well, doc, my iPad's got this little fancy screen that I can change the lights and Apple says that's okay. No, it's still light. It's still keeping your cortisol levels high, right? So you want to get away from your technology as much as you can. I know. You want to avoid those nasty processed carbohydrates before bedtime, right? Because we talked about how insulin goes up and then it crashes, right? And if you're that person that wakes up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and you're like, hey, I'm ready to go. But then you wake up at 7 and you're like, ooh, can I get a do-over? Who am I talking to? Raise your hand if you see that 3 o'clock hour often, right? So if you're one of those people that just can't stay asleep, it's really because you're having a heavy carbohydrate load, right? Some chips, some pretzels, some ice cream, and then your blood sugar crashes around 3 o'clock, and then that's what wakes you up. All right, so your sleeping environment. I know many of you refer to your bedrooms as where the magic happens, but in my house, we refer to the bedroom as the toe stubbing zone. Toe stubbing zone. I know there's nothing sexy about that, but your toe stubbing zone, your bedroom, should be as dark as possible. All right. Your eyeball can actually absorb light through the eyelid, right? So that's why people that will sleep with their televisions on, or sometimes you have an obnoxiously bright alarm clock, those are things that are going to disrupt your sleep cycles. Team, could someone grab me a spine? I left it in room 4. I got to talk about sleep postures in just a second. So good. So you got your sleep environment. It's got to be dark. It's got to be cool. It's got to be, about 68, 70 degrees, and it's got to be comfortable, right? Don't pay your bills. Don't do other things in your bedroom other than sleep. 8 hours minimum, okay? So a lot of us say, hey, I don't need 8 hours of sleep. And we've, let's just face it, these are the things we tell ourselves that are really not true. I always say, hey, guess what? You may not need 8 hours of sleep, but your hormones in your body absolutely does need 8 hours of sleep, right? Hormones do not negotiate. So you need 8 hours of sleep to make sure that those hormones are in balance. Now, when it comes to staying asleep, a lot of time it's because people are not sleeping in the appropriate posture. Okay, so like posture is really important for the health of your spine. The health of your spine is really important because your spine protects your nervous system, which really controls every function in your body, including your metabolism, right? So what we're looking at here in this slide is two things. One, it's what we're looking at is a neck over there to my left. And then the chart is basically a chart of the amount of stress or strain in the disc based off of different postures. Okay, so for those of you that are watching me on the camera, we're looking at your spine from the back, we're looking at your spine from the side, we're looking at your spine from the front. Everyone got me directionally? Now, the best way to make sure to sleep is actually, as the chart shows, on your back. All right, because when you're sleeping on your back, your body weight over a much larger cross section, right? And that means that all parts of your spine are being supported equally. Now, number two is sleeping on your side. Okay, now when you sleep on your side, you're still, just like on your back, able to keep the spine in a healthy neutral position. Okay, so sleeping on your side is okay as well. However, I will show me someone that sleeps on their right side. I will also show you someone that has a right shoulder or a right hip issue. You show me someone with a left shoulder issue or left hip issue, they probably sleep on their left. You show me someone that is always, flipping and flopping and turning, from side to side. Well, I will then show you someone that has multiple injuries that are unresolved, and your body is flipping and flopping because it still needs to restore blood supply, lymph supply, or all of those things to that tissue, right? So your tossers and turners should come see me in the office. Beyond that, what you really want to avoid is sleeping on your stomach. Okay, I'm going to come in real close here, okay? Now, the joints in the neck, okay, see that little lip right there, folks? If you look at other parts of the spine, it doesn't have that. So your joints in the neck, there's an accessory joint called the uncovertebral joint. It's an extra joint you have in your neck. It's a good thing. But when you sleep on your stomach, you've got to turn your head to the side. You gotta do that whole breathing thing. And you're gonna compress and inflame, and you're gonna irritate those joints. So my stomach sleepers always have more arthritis in their necks. Those little yellow things that you see, those are the nerves that go into the shoulder and down into the arm, into the hands. So my stomach sleeper always have more carpal tunnel or tingling in their hand, these 3 fingers or these 2 fingers, more elbow, more shoulder issues. There's a red thing that goes through your neck. It's called your vertebral artery, right? Your vertebral artery goes to a very important part of your brain, right? So yeah, my stomach sleepers always suffer more headaches. Right? So yeah, so you can sleep on your back is the best. You can sleep on your side, but try to stay away from sleeping on your stomach. Okay. Now, the thing that I want you to understand is, when it comes to the health of your spine, most people won't tell you, other than a chiropractor, that within that spine is this really important thing called the nerve system. And it's the nerve system that really controls every single function in your body. Right. And if I were to ask most of you, hey, what's your spine look like? Most of you would have absolutely no idea, right? But if I were to ask you, hey, how's your cholesterol? How's your blood? You would have some idea about that. But most of us have no idea what the health of our, the most critical system in our body, the nerve system, is, right? So, when it comes to our health, we all have options. And many of you, I know, because you spend your days sitting, you spend your days commuting, you spend your days in front of computers. A lot of you, have neck and shoulder issues, have headache issues, have lower back. You have a lot of these concerns that we suffer, that we help people with all the time. What we do in our office is different. I mean, I guarantee you, you've gone to the doctor, you waited an hour, you had a 5-minute conversation, and I know what they said. Oh, it's fine, or it's because you're old, or my favorite, it's because you're overweight, and to take this or take that, or do these exercises, and most you still have those concerns, right? So I gotta say, for those of you that have concerns, for those of you that are not reaching your health goals, for those of you that want to get back to doing something that you love to do, or something that you want to do that you've never done before, come into my office, get checked out. All right. In our office, we're going to sit down with you. We're going to go over your goals. We're going to get to know you. We're going to know what you want to accomplish. What do you want to get back to doing? All right. And then we're going to sit you down next day, later that week, and I'm going to go over my recommendations. If I can help you, I'm going to let you know. If I can't help you, I'm going to let you know that too, but I'm also going to try to point you in the right direction. Right. So the cost of our visits usually over $200, but for TJX patients, you guys have had a great relationship over the years, and the cost of that's going to be $75. So if that's something that you want to take advantage of, just put exam in the chart, and my team will circle back, and we'll make a time for you to come in and get your spine checked and see if you can live a happier, longer, stronger, healthier life. All right. So the other thing we'll talk about is who we surround ourselves with, right? So let's just face it. Over the past 2 years, I guarantee, you've either read something, or one of your friends has said something. You're like, I can't believe that person says that or thinks that, or like it's been that type of 2 years now, hasn't it? So the last thing I'm going to tell you is big part of your outcomes are who you're surrounding yourself with, right? So like you might want to lower your cortisol levels, right? But every day you talk to that friend that is always gloom and doom and sky is falling, right? Or you may want to clean up your diet, right? You may want to start planning your meals, right? But then you spend your time around people that are like on a pizza and wings diet. Sleep is a big one, right? That's typically a family culture thing, right? Where, hey, partner, honey, I want my sleep habits to get better, but yours are completely sideways. I can't get my sleep habits right if yours aren't right. So sometimes I just want to tell you, sometimes the key is loving somebody from afar. Sometimes the key is having that uncomfortable conversation of like, look, I'm trying to lose weight here, but you keep on bringing the Oreo cookie into the house, right? So uncomfortable conversations and loving people from afar is important sometimes. Also, who you surround yourself with is also very important in a positive way, right? So what you're looking at is a picture of me and my chiropractor, Dr. Dave. So Dr. Dave and I, we grew up playing hockey together. We were teammates. We went to chiropractic college together. He's like a brother to me, right? And one of the things that we've done for years is when one of us is going through a tougher time, one of the things we will never say is, how are you doing? Hey, Dave, how are you doing? I haven't said that to them in years. Whenever you're in a challenge, instead of saying, how are you doing? It's always, what? What are you doing, Dave? Not how, what? Because what would imply action. And it's only action that's going to make your life better tomorrow than it is today. It's only action of like, maybe I need to distance myself from that really stressful person, or maybe I need to start meal planning. Maybe I need to look into the glycemic index. Maybe I need to start changing how I approach my shopping. Maybe I need to get to bed earlier, right? So what I can tell you from decades of working with people is that if you start to make changes in your behaviors and your choices in the next 48 hours, that change in behavior, that change in that choice might make a difference. And that one little choice may make a humongous difference in not just your health, but in your family's health. But one thing I can guarantee you is that, sometimes if we want different outcomes, we need to do different things, right? So I can guarantee you, if you keep doing things the same way, your outcomes will be the same, right? So for some of you, it's picking up the phone and calling someone like me, someone that keeps you accountable, someone that helps you get through that issue that is holding you back. For others, it's picking up the personal trainer. For other times, it's the uncomfortable conversation with the spouse, right? But I know you can do it. Your body is smart. It's designed to be healthy, right? You just got to follow the owner's manual, right? So in our office, our mission is to revolutionize our community's health outcomes, the development of our little ones, and ultimately the expression of your life. So I'd love to make a greater impact in your life. When I send you out the PowerPoint slides, there'll be a coupon for a reduced rate exam. If that's something you want to take advantage of, love to see you in the office. I know we can make an impact in your lives. I know we can. All right. So for those of you that got to get back to work, now is the time to run. For those of you that have questions, I'm going to answer those questions specifically. Okay, I'm going to first go through the chat bar. And if there's questions, I saw there's a bunch of people here. If you have questions, just raise your hand, and I will make my way to you, I promise. Okay. So all right, let's take her from the top here. Okay. All right, everyone have a good show. Everyone have a good time, right? All right, can I get a thumbs up if you liked it? Give me a thumbs down if you didn't. We'll talk about you later. No. No. Let's see. Where are my questions? What types of physical exercises do I enjoy? Okay, good. All right, so the walking and the yoga. Okay, so let's talk about yoga. Yoga is very important. Flexibility, probably the most underrated aspect of one's fitness, right? But when it comes to things like increasing bone density and a hormonal balance, those types of things, yoga is great, but it's not what that's going to do. Okay. Yoga is very important. Yoga is good. Being flexible is good. But when it comes to regaining hormonal balance, it's the intensity. It's the breaking the sweats. It is the high intensity with interval training. It's lifting heavy things. All of those things are going to stimulate the growth hormone and help better outcomes. Bar, love bar. So bar is great because, bar takes like yoga and resistance training and kind of melds it into a very sneaky, very difficult workout, right? Hey, love hiking with the dog. Hiking with the dog is great. Love dogs. But again, as far as will it help you achieve hormonal balance? Not really, although dogs are great. So less cortisol with the dog. All right. Krista was very interested. And I think that was my probably the order of which you weight train, I think is what she commented on that one. Yep. Okay. All right. Okay. No, where's my questions? What are the best ways to implement this while feeding family kids? Okay. So Krista, children, right? So raising healthy families. I got a whole hour workshop on that, right? So when it comes to your metabolism, we're playing checkers. When it comes to your kids' metabolism, we're playing chess, okay? All right, so love to come back and talk about that. And the key is consistency. Consistency. Kids are gonna make great choices. They will make great choices, but sometimes you need to limit their choices. Do you want this really good thing or do you want that really good thing, right? And a lot of times with parents, I mean, let's just face it, don't take offense to this, right? Johnny, don't do that. Johnny does that. Yeah, you've got to back it up. If Johnny does that, you've got to, I told you not to do that, right? So come on, sometimes as parents, not enough, but sometimes we do get a little bit lazy, right? We're busy. I know, I get it. It's not been easy over the past 2 years. I know I ruined rice cakes for Mar 05894. I'm sorry. Yes, the shipping. Any suggestions for your favorite cookbook? I think Dr. Nikki, who is a phenomenal cook, answered that the 360, the Whole 30. Yeah, I agree with you, Dr. Nikki. I think that's a great cookbook, and absolutely, I think that's the answer. You got to find something that works for you. Okay, what works for me may not work for you, so actually we live in this age where there's lots of things, lots of companies that can send us ready to make fresh food, right? So very helpful. How do I feel about protein powders? Time and a place, right? So like in the morning, I really want to get my fat. I really want to get my protein. I really want a whole food. You know, you win the breakfast, you win the day. Protein powder really good for like a late night snack or like a midday, you know, type of situation. Different types of protein, right? You got whey protein, you got soy protein. I would, you know, recommend things like whey over soy. Again, Boundless Energy, we're really going to get into the protein, but protein powders are fine. Just make sure you're spending some money on them because cheap protein powder is a thing. Okay, yep, good. Okay, yep, little antioxidants and yep, all that is good, Katie. Right, this is good. How does wine impact this? As I don't eat many. Yeah. Wine's a sugar. Wine, you know, I'm sure you've already Googled glycemic index of your favorite wine, right? It's a sugar. It's going to spike your insulin. It's going to lock you into fat storage mode. I know. I only see 3 if you're my 1-year-old Wicks. Yeah, I get it. Good question. Let me just make my way down there. Should your bed be flat? What about adjustable beds? You know, so there are times, some patients do really good with an adjustable bed, right? I recommend laying flat, but I understand that there are reasons why someone would want an adjustable bed. So I don't have any issues with them. The key is finding your sleeping style to the correct mattress, okay? Back sleepers really need to focus on their pillows. Back sleepers, side sleepers really need to find a right mattress, a mattress that is conducive with your sleeping posture and also your partner's if you sleep next to them. What's the best type of pillow for sleeping on your back? Natalie, you want to make sure the ear is balanced over the shoulder. You don't want to be that person with like 3 favorite pillows that are putting their head in the forward head posture. Okay, even no pillow is okay. Does this no as far as the beds with the pillow tops? If you're a person that gets like hot flashes, that's maybe not a good idea because you'll sink into the bed and that will make you warmer. But I have no issues with those. Those are fine. Favorite meme. Okay. I appreciate Sam. Thank you. I appreciate that meme as well. Okay. Thank you so much. Very eye-opening. Okay. We're happy. Set of voice soy, when you were talking about walnuts as a source of protein, why? So Joan, couple of things with the soy. Soy anti-nutrient causes you to excrete things like magnesium. Also has, you know, maybe not so great impacts on like male hormonal, you know, so that type of thing. Most of the soy you get is actually genetically modified. I'm just going to go with no soy for a number of reasons. Yeah, I know. Rice cakes do taste like styrofoam, Anne Marie. I believe you. How to my next meeting. Thank you, Chris. Awesome. Good. All right. Is there a way to prevent your partner snoring? Yeah, sleep in different rooms. No, lots of different reasons for the snoring. Actually, ironically, we do find a lot of times patients will have changes in their snoring because honestly, they usually come in with neck issues, and the same nerves that are coming out of the neck that are giving them neck pain are also controlling the tone of the muscles in the throat, right? So there's that. So lots of different ways to prevent the snoring. Pillow over the face. No. Snoring is an issue, right? So a lot of times, to tell you the truth, with the snoring, they're having inflammatory foods, and the tissues of the respiratory tract are inflamed, and that creates turbulence. So clean up their diet, see what happens with that. All right, that's all I got for questions. Again, for those of you that want to come in the office, get your spine checked, please reach out to us or put exam in the comments, and my team will reach out to you. All right, hope all is well and hope to see you soon. All right, bye now.